Hello, everyone, and happy solstice. Today is actually the day after solstice for me, and by the time you're watching this, it will be a few days past. But summer solstice is one of the best days of the year, in my opinion, because it is the day of the year that we have the most sunlight, more than any other day. So in honor of the sun and the solstice, I thought I'd share with you different ways that people around the world have celebrated this longer day historically. Now, the ancient Greeks, according to certain iterations of their calendar, which varied some between different regions, but the summer solstice was generally the first day of the year. And there are several festivals that were held around this time, including Cronia, which celebrated the agriculture god Cronus. The ancient Chinese participated in a ceremony on the summer solstice to honor the earth, fertility, and the force known as yin, which complements, as you know, yin and yang. So it complemented the winter solstice ritual, which represented more masculinity and principle of yang. Now for the Vikings, the midsummer time was a crucial time of year to their seafarers who would meet to discuss legal matters and resolve disputes around this time. And they also would visit wells that were thought to have healing powers and build huge bonfires by them. And today, Viking summer solstice celebrations are apparently very popular in Iceland for both residents and tourists. Now, among Native Americans, there are many tribes that took part in centuries-old midsummer rituals, and many of them are still practiced today, such as the Sioux. They would perform a ceremonial sun dance around a tree while wearing symbolic colors. And some scholars believe that that Wyoming's Bighorn medicine wheel, an arrangement of stones that were built several hundred years ago by the Plain Indians, that it aligns with the solstice sunrise and sunset, and was therefore the site of that culture's annual Sundance. So there are, in fact, many civilizations, ancient cultures that have built structures aligned to the sun. So the ancient Mayans in Guatemala are thought to have celebrated the solstice with a structure that was uncovered in 2011 but built sometime between 600 BC and 300 BC, and a structure that was aligned to the sun and aligned for celebrations of solar events. So during the solstices, you would have been able to see the sun rising in line with the Easter structure, and because of the way it was built. And the Mayans in Mexico also constructed buildings that seem to be based on the solstice. For example, at the Temple of Kukulkan, so see if I can try to get it a little closer to the pronunciation, Kukulkan. During the solstice, one side of the temple would be entirely in darkness, while the other side would be entirely lit up. So the sun was allowed in just in the right direction at solstice to do that. So another, of course, you've all heard of Stonehenge. Everyone knows about Stonehenge. And it was built throughout the second millennium BC. So really long time ago, very ancient history. And it also aligns with the sun on solstice. So if you look through a portion of the monument while facing northeast, it allows you to see the sunrise, what is known as the heel stone. The interesting thing about Stonehenge, I mean, everyone knows of its existence and has seen pictures of it, right? And I'll picture it, but not that much is known about the people and the culture that built it, because they left no written records behind. But like these other structures and these other ancient cultures, the alignment of Stonehenge with both the summer and winter solstices and its history as a burial ground suggests that the holiday, the solstice, did contain some sort of mystical or religious significance. And many have theorized that it was used for worship. There are a couple of archaeologists in the UK that have suggested that due to the evidence of trauma in the bones that they found there, that it's possible that Stonehenge was considered a place of healing. So that's pretty cool, but no one really knows for sure. So perhaps the oldest celebration of the solstice and buildings aligned to the sun can be found in ancient Egypt. The complex society designed their most famous and striking monuments to align with the sun on solstice. So when standing at the giant sphinx that's built of limestone on the summer solstice, the sun sets exactly between the two of the great pyramids. Ancient Egyptians also built a temple in Osiris that is illuminated by the setting sun on the solstice that shines directly between two nearby hills. Now, the Egyptians celebrated the solstice because it signaled the coming of the star Sirius and the ancient Egyptian New Year, which was tied to the yearly flooding of the Nile. The Nile flooding was really critical for the ancient Egypt's food systems. So it made sense that it was a really important time for them that they would celebrate. Today, more generally in our own culture, solstice, of course, more celebrated as the beginning of summer, which is wonderful too, or the first official day of summer, and all that summer brings. So swimming and vacations and barbecues, but also it's a season of growing our vegetables, growing our flowers, a time of life bursting forth and ripening. So it's a good time for us to think about our own nourishment. And by that, I mean, yes, all the wonderful vegetables we can eat, but also our spiritual nourishment and what we need in our spiritual nourishment and able to grow and evolve. So I want to conclude this lesson with a prayer by David Breeden, and it's called The Solstice Teaches Us. The solstices teach us, plural. The solstices teach us that darkness comes, that darkness goes. The solstice teach us that light comes, that light goes. The solstices teach us calmly, silently, to be calm, silent, listening. The solstices teach us as we circle the sun that everything flies. The solstices teach us to remember the dark, to remember the light, to remember time, the seasons, and love as we circle the sun. So that's all for this week. Have a great week coming up and get out and enjoy summer.